Hey, hi everyone. So guys, as part of this session, we are going to talk about the trace feature that can be enabled on any kind of a report. So what exactly this feature is? This is used in order to analyze your test execution. This does has a snapshots, timelines, and other screenshots. What are all the details that were enabled? You can find it as part of a trace. By default, the trace value is on first retry that can be configured as a Playwright configuration file itself. And the various other options that we can pass on for this one is whether it may be a on, off, on first retry, or retain on a failure. These are the four different options that we can pass on for this particular trace. So if you navigate to the Playwright configuration file, okay, if you navigate to the Playwright configuration file, in line number 32, the trace value is on first retry. I'm changing this one to on itself, just on. I'm just changing it to on and pull our terminal and let us try to run the program. Okay, let us try to run the example2 spec file. So the script is getting executed and of course the report got generated. Let me open that particular report as we have already on that particular trace, right? If you look at this particular report at the bottom, you do have an option which is the trace. Okay, you do have an option which is the trace. Okay, let me open this particular trace. As and when you open this particular trace, if you look at it just by comparing with the previous example that we have seen on an UI mode of execution, the same instance it's capturing here, more or less the same one. It does has a timeline, it does has an action, before, after, locators, call, log, network, console, everything, whatever. Okay, whatever the information that we have seen as part of the UI mode, including the metadata, everything is being populated here as part of this particular trace. Okay, so this helps us more when we try to look at that particular instance, how exactly it's performing the operations, all those things. This trace will be helpful. Okay, perfectly all right. If you look at this particular slide, as of now, we have a configured this particular trace in a configuration file. There are two more options basically we can configure this trace. One is basically you can configure it using a program that we will see in between the sessions. And the next one here is you can enable the trace at the time of executing your code also. Okay, whenever you are trying to execute your code, right? So here at the time of execution of our code also, we can enable this particular trace. Okay, so here the trace, it may be on, off, on first retry, and retain on a failure. So Surendra, on means by default it's gonna on, off means it will be off. So what is this on first retry? So the significance of on first retry out over here is basically it will record a trace only when it will try to rerun the program at the very first time. So assume that the script got a fail now, and immediately there is a retry mechanism that's trying to execute. At that time the trace will be captured. Okay, if it is a failed first and then in a retry, it will be capturing that particular trace. Perfect. And the last option that we have is retain on a failure. So this will record a trace for each test. That's fine. But remove it from successful test run. See, consider that I ran a particular test, different tests. I ran it for because of the retry mechanism. Initially, it got a fail, and as it got a fail, it captured the trace. But as for the retry mechanism, the script got executed one more time, and this time it got a pass. So as it was already passed, hence it removed that particular trace. So the ultimate point here, when it will retain that particular trace, is if it got a failed, then only it will maintain that particular trace. So here this is an option basically which is a trace on. So here I'm changing my value in a config property to this one. Let me stop that particular report, and here what I am gonna do right now here is let me try to execute my trace on. Okay, here hyphen trace space on. Okay, as and when I hit this enter button, the script will execute, and this time we are enabling the trace from this particular command itself. Okay, let me try to run it. So look at it. So here the trace is on. Okay, perfectly all right. So this is the way how exactly we can enable it. The programming wise the trace, that we will be saying moving further once after we are done with the hooks and other concepts. Okay. Thank you. See you in the next session. Bye bye.